Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Hey kids, welcome to Grumpy Nostalgia, the Second Look Cinema podcast, the show where we go back to that blockbuster new release wall of our memory, we grab a copy off that shelf, we pop it in our VCR, and we see what time has done to it. I'm Justin, that's Mike.
Buenos dias and dobre den.
And together we're here to help you navigate all those landmines littered down memory lane. So Mike, this is going to be a fun one.
Right.
I think. Yeah.
How can we please get away from this Kevin Reynolds guy? I mean, I see his name pop up and I'm like, no. We just did a movie, this guy. Come on, enough.
It is unavoidable. It's your destiny, Mike.
This can't be.
Yeah. Possible. So guys, this may be our last podcast ever. We're, as the time we're recording this, we're in that apex of the superstorm, the snowpocalypse of 2026, Mike. This might be our very last recording, so let's make this a good one.
I got enough bread for 2 weeks. Is that enough?
I can't find a damn Oscar Mayer anywhere in the Carolinas. Rabid thieves. Well, emergencies really bring out the best in people, don't they?
That's right.
Anyway, so all that notwithstanding, let's talk about another apocalypse, Mike. This World War III. So this week we're going to go back in the time machine a little bit and talk to a sweeter time, the 80s, when the Cold War was a real thing and people used to be scared of these things a lot. We're going to go back to 1984 and talk about Red Dawn, Mike.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, or alternately titled If Dick Cheney Ever Wrote a Movie. Wow.
Unfortunately, I think I'd rather have his treatment than Kevin Reynolds, but that's just me.
Well, we'll get to that here in a minute. So let's just jump in and get this train wreck over. So this was directed by John Milius, Mike, who...
not familiar with him.
He's a pretty iconic director, writer, producer in Hollywood. He directed films like Conan the Barbarian.
Okay.
He also wrote that one. He also wrote Apocalypse Now with Francis Ford Coppola.
Okay.
He wrote Dirty Harry. He's the guy that wrote the phrase "Make My Day." That came out of his pen. So he also wrote and directed the USS Indianapolis scene out of Jaws, which is one of our favorites ever. Collaborated a lot with Lucas in the early days of Star Wars. He's kind of a big, burly, macho guy. He was one of the original founders of the UFC, Mike, which I was not aware of.
Wow.
Talk about ultra male. He also collaborated with the Coens quite a bit, and as much as he was the inspiration for Walt from The Big Lebowski, played iconically by John Goodman. So there you go.
Walter, yeah.
I guess taking second banana here would be the co-writer called Kevin Reynolds, who directed our movie that we featured last week, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Oh, yeah.
That's his first script he ever wrote, Mike.
Wow. So he got started with a big one. That's pretty good.
He sure did. So there you go. This had a budget of $17 million. I think most of it just in pyrotechnics and explosives, but that's...
renting out some old Russian military equipment.
Yeah, and it was released on August 10th, 1984. So... Mike, this is an ensemble film.
Ensemble.
Really, basically, you want to run us through the Teen Beat Ensemble that brought this film adaptation to screen, please?
Yeah. It's held together by Patrick Swayze. He was... I really am impressed with his body. I know we've only done, Point Break and Roadhouse, but...
Yeah.
I mean, even in this movie, we need to do, like, Outsiders or something, too, but... I think I dismissed him in high school because of all the dirty dancing and wow, he can dance and he's he's an entertainer. But when you actually see him in these action movies, he's damn good. I feel bad because like I said, during his heyday, I was like, I just in my mind I kind of dismissed him as a great actor, and like I said, compared next to C. Thomas Howell and Leah Thompson in this movie, it's just not even close. Speaking of which, the Howard the Duck ladies in this one. And luckily, C. Thomas Howell is not in blackface or hitting a volleyball in this movie, so that's good.
How do you think C. Thomas? What do you think he goes by? You think his friends call him C. Thomas?
C.
Is that like an F. Murray situation.
Yeah, F you. I mean, C, how you doing, buddy? Yeah, I don't know. That's a good one. You had the kid from Salem's Lot in this movie who, he's got one of those faces that you're like, this is one of those Disney kids, And
Yeah.
Ironically enough, he plays Danny in this movie too, which is,
This is
pretty
good.
cool.
Yeah.
You have the foul mouth cop from Last Action Hero who plays briefly a teacher in this movie before he gets shot, gunned down.
I did make the connection. Good pull.
Yeah, the villain from Any Which Way You Can. The guy that fights Clint Eastwood in the movie.
Oh yeah.
And I had no idea, especially based on his name, which is like William Smith or something. It's he's pretty good. Got a pretty good Russian going on there.
Sure does.
But he plays the fox or the bad guy. He's inserted there later on to kind of like Alec Baldwin and Glenn Ross. He's the heavy that comes in and tells him what to do. Yeah. Powers Booth is in this. One of my favorite actors. He's possibly because he's one of the most sarcastic actors I've ever seen. Every role he's in, he is just dry sarcasm. I mean, even some of the lines he delivers in this movie, like, "Hey, your mom would be real proud of you," just the way it's just given. It's just like it has such a double meaning to it. He was great in a show I used to watch on HBO called Philip Marlowe, where he was the hard-boiled noir detective. He's in Deadwood. I think the first thing I saw him in was he was Jim Jones in like a TV movie that came out right after the Guyana tragedy, and it was just like, it was perfect casting. Looked
just like him. It freaked me the hell out. That was an awful thing to watch when you're a kid. Oh my!
It was, but it made such a it's like watching Kevin Spacey when he played Jim Baker. It was just like, that is him.
Yeah. He's actually Shakespearean trained, Mike. He spent a lot of time on Broadway doing Shakespeare. That's how he came up through the chain.
There you go. Yeah, but like I say, everything you see him, and including like Sudden Death, where he's the bad guy in that one. And he's just dry. He's sarcastic.
Bill. Don't forget Curly Bill.
On time. Yeah, I can't forget Tombstone. But yeah, Harry Dean Stanton reappears in this movie as Charlie Sheen and Patrick Swayze's dad. He's again, the guy just appears, and you're like, I believe he's their dad. I believe he's this
going to be
character.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
back-to-back appearances on Grumpy Nostalgia.
That's right. And like I said, Charlie Sheen's in this movie. This is the second Estevez brother that Patrick Swayze gets to act with. So more power to him. Jennifer Grey is an early Dirty Dancing preview of those two together in this movie. She sadly killed, in great death with a grenade.
Are we eligible to put her in a corner yet? Or
in this movie she actually gets put under a tree, so pretty close.
Okay.
I can't forget.
I went dark, you went darker, but okay.
I can't forget Ben Johnson. He's been in 1,000 Western movies. He appears as this old guy. I like to know where he lives in this movie because apparently he's untouched by the Russians and the Cubans.
Yeah.
And he's Mr. Exposition. He provides a lot of information that kind of fills in holes that's going on, and they just visit him. He's that guy. And that's pretty much I'm going to say that's your cast that I remember. So there you go.
Well done, thank you, Mike. So just some follow up notes. So Patrick Swayze, that we all just decide he's the greatest actor ever. He was originally this role was originally cast for Emilio Estevez, another Sheen brother, but he dropped out to do another project. The remaining Sheen, Charlie, this was his first movie, believe it or not. Yeah. C. Thomas Howell, or C to his friends, as they established. He was a rodeo clown when he was a kid, and all that writing, he kind of helped his co-stars writing and gave tips in that. But he was an accomplished horse rider at the time.
Cool.
Yeah, this is a very violent movie. At the time, it held the Guinness Book of World Records for the most violent acts per movie per minute. At 135 violent acts per hour, which is a violent act every 2.25 minutes, Mike, if you're keeping score. So violent, in fact, that to this day it's still banned in Finland. Those Finns can't handle, that kind of that drama. Given that it was the first PG-13 movie ever put out, back when that rating didn't exist. But there you go. The cast and crew got a very quick and dirty 8-week boot camp, so to speak, training protocol with Green Berets to teach them how to shoot and all that stuff. I don't know how well it stuck. So there's some of these gunfight scenes. It looks like they're barely hanging on to those.
Yeah, when they get blasted back by shooting an RPG or the
Yeah,
hat flies off, it's like.
they're saying there was a YouTube video element to some of that stuff, but we digress.
Yeah.
This was a conservative's wet dream at the time. Everybody loved this movie, especially on the conservative side of the aisle, for the obvious reasons. The fact that actually it was screened for Ronald Reagan. He actually loved it in the White House screening room. So there you go. So 1984, Mike, that was a long time ago. Very, very, very long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
42 odd years, hard to believe. But a lot of people credit 1984 as one of the biggest pivotal years of pop culture history. A lot of things that year kind of changed a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff we talk about in modern day that still to this day that started in 1984. Things like the movie Dune and Karate Kid and Spinal Tap, Alien, Blade Runner. Those things are still a thing. And that started way back when in 84. You had MTV kind of making the scene there, they really kind of politicized music at that point, and we'll kind of get that here in a minute. In the movie theater, Mike, before this movie came out, you had Purple Rain, Revenge of the Nerds, The Never Ending Story. Those are all in the multiplex when this movie came out.
Golly.
Yeah, this came out on August 10th, as I mentioned, along with Buckaroo Banzai. Those two came out together. I'm going to get you to watch that movie.
Yeah, I got to see that one.
The top films that year were Ghostbusters, Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom, Gremlins, The Karate Kid, and Police Academy, rounding out the top 5. This movie came in number 20 for that year, so decent haul. Best picture that year was Terms of Endearment. Real feel-good movie, Mike.
Oh, yeah. Love that.
We mentioned MTV and their dominance over the music scene on the radio. That the week that this movie came out, you had the number one song was "Ghostbusters" by Ray Parker Jr. And I think Huey Lewis is still getting a little residuals from that, still getting royalties, but it's all hush hush, Mike.
Yeah.
We had speaking of Prince, we had "When the Doves Cry." That was the number 2 song. You had the boys from ZZ Top getting really deep and existential, talking about legs. She's got him, and she knows how to use them, right? And plus,
they only did one. They only did one good song.
They only have one song. It's just all of them sound.
Well, there's the '70s ZZ Top, and then there's the '80s ZZ Top, and I can't abide by the '80s ZZ Top. It's just not my bag.
You didn't like the cool muscle car and the over style
little ZZ keychain. I did want one of those, but that was about it.
When they would spin their guitars around, that just cracked me up.
I like the little hand thing where they like turn their hand and point.
Oh, it's so great.
Oh, it's great.
I think their guitar designer electrocuted himself. Not supposed to be funny, but just
it sounds like this is Spinal Tap kind of situation.
Just put that in the irony department, if you will.
Yeah.
As speaking of irony, the only guy in ZZ Top that doesn't have a beard is named John Beard. But I think I've taught ZZ Top long enough. You had the boys from Van Halen telling you about Panama, Mike. Great song.
Oh yeah,
and around out the top 5, you had Eyes Without a Face by Billy Idol, which triggers even to this day a point of physical revulsion every time I hear that song. I do not like Billy Idol, but what do I know?
Sneering Billy Idol.
Yeah, some other things going on in 1984 of interest to nobody. This is the year the Mac computer debuted. You might remember the iconic Super Bowl commercial that only aired once. Did you actually see that in real time?
Yeah.
Yeah, so did I.
I remember seeing it. I had no idea what Apple was or why it was black and white and what even 1984 the book was. But it was a cool commercial.
Very well. That's when I used to care about football and especially Super Bowl commercials. And now you can just kind of watch all of them online before they even hit the air. I think the biggest story in 1984 for me personally was this was the year that actually this day, to the day, January 23rd, 42 years ago, Hulk Hogan won his first WWF championship, beating the Iron Sheik in Madison Square Garden. Right?
He avoided the camel clutch.
Oh
wow!
The Iron Sheik was fantastic, man.
Very frank, very open discussion kind of guy.
Man, I think Mexican by descent, but who cares?
Yeah, he had one of the largest members in wrestling.
Iran #1. This is the year that Michael Jackson's hair caught on fire in that Pepsi commercial, launching thousands and thousands of tasteless jokes, all of which we approved. This is also the year that Colin Baker became the sixth Doctor Who, Mike.
Yes.
Talking up one for the nerds. So there you go. All right, so speaking of nerds, Mike, I think it's time we kind of wrap this preamble up and jump into this movie, man. This is an ultra macho, ultra American film, really iconic of the Cold War that we were all kind of going through. Just an interesting little time capsule of movie. So, Mike, how about we jump in the theater and see what's going?
Wolverine.
All right, so if you would please, Mike, hit the button. So the opening credits start up. You notice there's no actors listed in the opening credits. They just kind of jump to it. And there's a couple of really fast flash frames. Like you have to pause it to actually read it. But the gist is that there's a wheat famine, the biggest ever in the USSR, causing a food crisis. They invade Poland. Copycats.
Of course they do.
Yeah, of course they do. And this causes this little rift in geopolitics, and it causes, for some reason, Mexico to undergo a communist revolution, taking over the Hondurans and most of Central America. And they kind of form an alliance, and they decide they're going to attack the USA for its rich resources.
You know, the only thing that I found convincing in all the little things they showed was that NATO collapses. That was the one I could believe out of all those. So that was amazing.
Right, well, okay, so we got a premise, sort of.
Yeah.
We kind of open up in Calumet, Colorado, and we get introduced to our main characters here in that local high school. We're
September.
We're opening up in a classroom where a teacher.
I love there's no year, there's nothing else, just the month. I don't know if I've ever seen a movie just show a month. Every chapter is a separate month. It's kind of interesting.
It kind of future-proofs it, Mike, if you think about it.
In a little bit.
So we see a teacher giving a class about Genghis Khan and kind of explaining all the horrors. It would
have been really cool if they alluded to this later on. The flanking maneuver. I know they said flanking later, but the whole idea of the Mongols encircling somebody and starving them out, it never happened in the movie, but it would have been kind of cool if that actually was repeated. But you know,
I guess it's a lame attempt at foreshadowing, but we get there. So as he's giving his lecture to the high school kids, we look at the background through the windows, and we start to see some paratroopers landing. Right,
dude, I didn't count the minutes, but this movie started right away. It was like they just pressed the accelerator and they were gone.
Yep, they didn't waste any time, did they? So this is, obviously draws a lot of attention from the kids, and the teacher goes out there to see what's going on, and they, of course, those paratroopers land, and they start shooting everybody. They just light everybody up. I remember being very disturbed at this as a kid. It was very, very scary.
I remember thinking, why would they attack a high school? Was that on their map before they did their invasion?
Send that highly skilled kind of paratrooper, maybe be in a military installation, but for a high school. But they start shooting up everybody and causing a lot of grief. So that caused a lot of panic, of course, and everybody starts running for it. And Patrick Swayze, who had dropped off his friends earlier, kind of hears the noise. He comes back, and he picks up as many people as he can in his sweet-ass blue pickup truck, Mike.
That's right.
And so Swayze picks up C. Thomas Howell, Charlie Sheen, his brother. Danny from Salem's Lot is also in there. You got Daryl, who's the student council president, and also the main Soch bully and the outsiders, which we got to talk about later as well. And Aardvark, don't want to forget Aardvark.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I don't remember really him hearing his name until he got killed. It was kind of like the dude from Armageddon,
Like Gruber.
Gruber's dead.
Yeah, Aardvark bit the bullet.
Yeah.
But anyway, so they all hightail it out of there, and they're getting shot at, and RPGs are just barely missing them, and they're screaming and they're crying. They're what's going on, but they go up and take shelter in the mountains just to take refuge. So there you go. So that happens in the first 3 minutes. So they spent a couple of weeks up there trying to get their wits about them and just kind of processing what they had just been going through. And they sneak back into town to get some more supplies and things like that. And this is a chance for some exposition. They find out that the Cubans that come up and have occupied Calumet, and they're out there looking for him. They find out that Thomas Howell's dad has been shot because he supplied them with some goods and some weapons. So that doesn't sit well. So that they're told to just to hightail it out of there, and they do. Before they do, they take a quick pit stop at one of Swayze's dad's friends, where they name Mr. Mason. He's got a big farm there that just seems to be ignored.
He's in his own little world, Mr. Mason and his Mr. Exposition.
Yeah.
And I don't know why he's not touched. Why bother hiding his grandchildren? Why do they have to be in the basement? And nobody ever comes out there.
So they went there to get some more supplies and get some horses, and they offloaded a couple of Mr. Mason's granddaughters. We introduced Jennifer Grey and Leah Thompson here, who was never really said, but we understand that they've been through some rough stuff, Mike. So as war is hell, as they say. So they kind of make their way just to survive on the mountains till things blow over. They do a little recon later in the movie, and they see that most of the some of the townspeople, their friends and neighbors, are killed in a public execution. This is not good, Mike, of course, and that's not. So they decide that they're going to start fighting back, and this is when they decide to do some. They decide to become gorillas. Not those gorillas, but real gorillas.
Not Garrison's gorillas.
Yeah.
A Wolverine is a small beast, like a badger.
That's right. Like a honey badger?
Honey badger don't care. The honey badger is really pretty badass. They have no regard for any other animal whatsoever.
So there you go. They make a quick stop to go see Harry Dean Stanton, who's held in a detainment camp. That's their father, and there's a very emotional scene where they're saying their goodbyes, and the wonderful scene that stuck with me for 42 years is Harry Dean Stanton yelling, "Avenge me!" He's so out of character. But then Harry Dean Stanton, of course, bites the bullet here, this public execution. So payback time, Mike. So,
yeah.
So the second act is essentially just a series of targeted attacks by the Wolverines, Mike.
That's right.
Taking the high school moniker of their sports team and applied that. So every time they hit a communist crew, they graffito tag.
They tag it. Yeah, I don't know where they get the spray paint and time to actually paint some of this stuff.
I don't know where they got all their heavy weaponry, or like they always had stuff.
Yeah, and even when they had a chance to get it, they kind of ran away. Like they had a tank they could have taken at one point, and they just kind of left it. And they had a Jeep. They could have gotten a Jeep at one point. It's like, no, they just left it.
But they're ambushing things and taking out these patrols that are going out looking for them, and all this is happening, Mike. The legend is growing, right? So the Cubans and the Russians know that there's this legendary band of rebels out there that they've got to track. So
Wild rebels.
1, 2, 3, 4. Wild rebels, punching crunchy rebels. Don't bust your teeth on something sweet and hard.
Wild rebels here are part of this complete breakfast.
So they spent a few months out there killing everybody. During all this, they actually pick up an extradition to their party. An F-14 pilot crashes, and that's
F-15. It's
F-15. Sorry,
it's Lieutenant Colonel Andy.
That's right. He's Powers Booth, and he's the older grizzled guy.
Oh yeah.
That they take into their clan, and he provides a little bit more explanation about the new global environment as a result of the war, and that kind of just so that's a neat little scene.
Oh yeah, the line where he says he's talking about there's 600,000 Chinamen.
Yeah,
and there are 600 million. They're like, oh, I thought there was a billion. He says there were. And he throws his whiskey in the fire and it. Love that line.
Yeah, there you go. So, love it. So that's that. Of course, these movies typically follow the same kind of pattern where things start to go down. We lose Aardvark and Powers Booth during a raid.
Oh yeah, that's a great death scene.
Yeah, the rebels are getting a little more wise to their patterns now here. So there you go. I
love the fact that like his last act is throwing a color bomb, flash grenade in there to mark where the tank is so they can aim at it, and he says, hit it, you army pukes.
Army pukes, so great line. Great death, great movie death.
Oh yeah.
And he had built a relationship with Leah Thompson, so that kind of stings a little bit as well. Even though he had a wife and kids that he thought he somewhere.
That was an odd scene where they're playing football and all of a sudden they're both sitting together and she's asking about his wife and he's
I didn't like that.
Sitting close to us. I think maybe there was some cutting room floor material left on that one. Okay,
get back to the guns, please. Yeah, so there you go. The student council guy, he's kind of a weasel. His dad's the mayor. He was never really one for staying out there, and he actually sneaks into town. Swallows the transmitter, gets captured, swallows the transmitter.
I had totally forgotten about that scene too.
He does a heel turn, Mike. He rats them out, and because they're they're pursued by a patrol one day. They shoot him up, and they notice the patrol's got a little Geiger counter thing, the tracker that leads them right to Daryl, which causes C. Thomas Howell just to shoot him, to execute him. So that was nice. C. Thomas Howell meets his end here. Not a few minutes later, the rebels have decided they're gonna bring in the big guns, Mike. So they bring in like a special forces guy to track him down, like a Wolverine hunter, if you will.
Yeah, yeah, the bad guy.
Yeah. They go out there and they leave some provisions on the road that, like it's an accident. They set a trap for him, and then they kind of come in, and unfortunately we lose Jennifer Grey here. We've already lost Aardvark and Powers Booth. We lose C. Thomas Howell here.
Yeah.
All we really got left are the
At least we got to see him eat some Czech cereal. That was pretty cool.
Oh, the old corn checks was really made out of. Oh, that's fantastic. But yeah, so that there's only 4 of them left, and they figure they can't sustain this. So Swayze and Charlie Sheen decide they're gonna kind of do a little suicide mission to buy Leah Thompson and Danny, who has done nothing but complain the entire movie.
Yeah, he was the whiny Luke Skywalker in this one.
Yeah. So they decide they're going to go into town and cause a diversion so those 2 remaining guys can escape to free America, Mike, which I guess is like 40 miles.
Yeah, I had problems with why they couldn't just have gone there earlier, but hey, that's that's part of the Kevin Reynolds screenplay.
I think they probably had to scrap their original ending and kind of paste one together instead. So there you go. Mm-hmm. But so Charlie Sheen and Patrick Swayze decided to go in guns a-blazing at the end there, blowing things up. And there's a lot of people shooting here that aren't Charlie Sheen or.
They made a lot of noise for 2 guys, you know, when they first came into town. Like, wow,
yeah,
how they pull that off? There's an army of 2, and they made some noise.
So they blow all kinds of things up, including the 2 evil generals.
Yeah. There was really a dichotomy between even the bad guys. Like the bad guys are really the Russians, The Cubans and the Nicaraguan guys were they're bad, but they're not like evil bad. They're just being used, and they don't want to be here as policemen, And they focus a lot on the Cuban guys.
I'm going to take your little Mexican friend with me, and I'm going to kill him. I'm Cuban B. Yes, Cuban B.
It's like, he's even writing home, like, I can't wait to see you. I quit this army, I don't want to be here, but the Russian guys are like hard-nosed idiots,
They're villains,
They're villains, yeah.
Yeah, that Cuban colonel here he's sympathetic to their cause because he used to be in their position when he was young, and he actually sees those 2 at the end trying to escape. And of course, they've been shot up, and it's pretty much assumed that Charlie Sheen and Jed, played by Patrick Swayze, aren't going to make it. They've been shot up, and he's carrying him to safety. And they get confronted by the Cuban colonel, and he looks at him and just says, "Let them go." He says, "Bios con Dios." Of course he does, right? So that scene, they're just kind of like. There's a scene at the end where they're by the swing sets, just like their dad told them a little anecdote earlier.
Yeah, nice tie.
It's a nice little ending there, and we kind of fade into Leah and Danny making their way across the plains, and they actually make their way to free America. And she does a little narration there, and it says she never saw the brothers again. But earlier in the film, every time someone had died or snuffed it, they carved their name into this big rock up in the mountains, and it kind of fades away to show that U.S. flag flying over that as if the war was over, and it's become a national landmark. Mike,
you know what? The only thing only thing I was missing was the Kevin Costner statue of him on a horse with his mail in his hand.
Yeah, that's Kevin Reynolds, all right there. But then, almost abruptly, shockingly, the movie credits just start rolling. Oh, wow, what the hell?
Boom! Yeah,
they break into snare drum music, the marching music. And there's black and white still photos of the cast. And I was just over.
Yeah, that first picture of Patrick Swayze was jarring. It's like, whoa!
Yeah, it was hit you out of nowhere, man. Yeah. Anyway, so there you go. 1984, guys. So let's talk about awards and accolades a little bit. So this had an $8 million opening, Mike. So that's pretty decent for 1984.
Especially with the competition. I mean, you named 3 other movies that were wow, just bonzo kind of movies.
Yeah, exactly. So this had a domestic release of $38 million for the box office. It did not have an international release, shockingly. It did not win any major awards or anything like that. MTV wasn't doing movie awards then. It's probably would have cleaned up 10 years later.
Yeah.
It did win an award that I thought you'd be particularly proud of, Mike. The Video Software Dealers Association of America voted this the most, or nominated this for the most popular current action film. Get a more commercial thing. I dare you to.
Action film.
Yeah. This is when VHS was all the rage. And so
Yeah.
we used to have awards for that. But it lost to a tie with the Terminator and Romancing the Stone. They split that award that year, Mike. So
I could see that.
this had mixed reviews. Basically, the NRA and conservative leaning people really liked it.
But I mean, what I liked about this movie was it had like the scene that showed the bumper stickers that you can remove the gun from me with my cold dead hands. And there's actually a scene where a Russian guy steps on a guy's hand, pulls a gun out, of the dead guy. I was like, "Oh my god, what are you trying to say here?" It was so funny. I was like,
it
was like an anti-NRA statement right there. I was like, "Wow, that's pretty amazing for this movie."
But teenagers like us loved it because it featured us teenagers fighting back against the establishment and all that stuff. So it was a lot of fun. It certainly gained a lot of momentum on cable. And VHS people really ate this thing up. Unfortunately, it was remade in 2012.
Oh yeah,
in a very, very unneeded sequel, with a bunch of Abercrombie and Fitch models taking the place of the original actors here. I have not seen it, but I know it's bad. I'm just going to leave it at that. Roughly a 3.5, 4 out of 10 by most critics.
Wow, I was surprised that the tomato meter, at least for the original 1984 Red Dawn, was a 48%.
Yeah.
Which that surprised me. I thought this would be at least a 60 to 70%.
I thought it would rate fresh for sure.
It's a pretty generous kind of rating, and anything below 50% is like, wow, that's pretty bad. I was shocked.
Yeah. But that won't stop modern Hollywood from trying to remake anything. So I think the remake was actually they ditched the Russians and the Cubans and substituted North Koreans, Mike, because that was the politically safe way to go.
Yeah.
Consensus here that it took itself way too seriously, and that kind of tempted me to maybe want to watch it. It's just to hate watch it. So
I mean, I had enough kind of sense of disbelief at seeing Cubans and Nicaraguans actually being, having the ability to actually invade, but I can't picture North Korea by itself orchestrating an invasion of America. That I almost want to see the movie just to see how they kind of are able to shoehorn that, little plot element in there. But I won't.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So now is the time, Mike, where we talk about the premise of the podcast, which is our take on the films. And so this is something we call our grumpy meter, ladies and gentlemen. This is where we talk about the films we saw in our younger formative years as film fans. And we review them again and rewatch them again as grumpy old jerks and decide how our opinions change one way or the other. So, Mike, why don't you talk about the first watch here when you're a little teenager and then your most recent watch as a grumpy old jerk, and how your opinions of the film change one way or the other.
I actually did not see this movie probably until about early 90s. So by the time I watched it, the Soviet Union already fallen, so it was kind of more of like just a not a satirical take, but a kind of fantasy movie. It's like, oh yeah, this was what could have happened.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to think that, we went through that time where we had to worry about nuclear bombs, that there would actually be a conventional invasion of the U.S. It's a great idea, for a movie, to show that us getting attacked on our own soil, which hasn't happened since 1812. And I liked the idea. I thought that it was a very compelling action movie. I know you mentioned how there's 135 whatnot deaths,
acts of violence, they call it.
Acts of violence, okay. And it that's what keeps you entertained. I mean, except for occasional scenes, that probably Kevin Reynolds directed, the football scene with Powers Booth and Leah Thompson there, and maybe a scene or two if that were a little on, a little silly, but other than that, the movie was just a thrill ride, Yeah. And there was some realism to it. I mean, I could see this actually happening in some sense, and this would be how kids would react to it. Is kind of interesting to see. They had, they went through a lot of ups and downs, and I thought it was kind of cool. I think seeing Leah Thompson using a machine gun was kind of cool. The music was insipid. It was really just the most banal, generic kind of patriotic music they could put in a movie. Even like you talk about how it ended with the little drum and the little horns. It was like, okay, we got it. But there was a couple actors in here that probably. I'm not gonna say the kid act for teenage actors. They were really good. I think Danny. There was a reason that he probably maybe peaked at this movie by this point. I'd be nice. And like I said, the cardboard kind of portrayals of the Russian guys. There was it was kind of funny to see like how they interpreted the Theodore Roosevelt plaque and called it imperialistic. And the movies they were showing Alexander Nevsky on the big screen there in downtown Calumet. That was funny to me. That had little elements like that in there, and I enjoyed it. It was a good movie. Like I said, I'm glad we can look back on it now and kind of laugh about this actually happening. Because it is very humorous, but like you said, violent, incredibly violent for a movie from that time. And it's maybe in our eyes now, we're like, wow, this is, I can't believe they got away with this in '84, but, entertaining movie. I liked it. I hate that they remade it. They almost could have set up for a sequel. I remember there being a movie called like Steel Dawn or something with Patrick Swayze that had nothing to do with this movie, but it, they almost didn't show him. They didn't show him dying at the end. You think, oh wow, maybe Jed's still alive and he can reappear in Red Dawn too. But I'm glad they never did that. So kudos to them.
It's a nice little bookended story. Had nice little symmetry to it. So So I saw this in very early on, like one of the first VHS rentals ever. And again, a kid. We're riding our bikes home from school. Said, "Hey, you want to check this movie out?" And he had a copy of it, and he was a gun nut, so I should have known better. But he's like showing me all the explosions, all the guns, and all that stuff. And I remember watching it over to his house. I think it was pretty cool. I remember the scene with those kids getting shot in the high school. Very upsetting for a 14-year-old kid. But it was disturbing, but in a weird, like curious way, Yeah. But it was kind of neat. I watched it. I watched it every time it was on cable. It was one of the things I just kind of has been in my purview for a very, very long time. I probably haven't watched it in about 20, 25 years, though. So I watched it again a couple nights ago. And this is only available on MGM Plus, if you're curious, guys. I tried to get to the Google Play Store, and I downloaded it, and I paid my $3.99, Mike. And apparently that $3.99 didn't cover the last 8 minutes of the movie because it just stopped.
Oh, wow.
So I had to go to YouTube, and of course YouTube's great because I just said, Red Dawn original ending, and I got to watch the whole thing. So I had to piece it together. It took me 2 times to watch this movie, but I was so pissed. But my impression of it as a more learned, I guess, film reviewer is that it's a great action movie, and I remember it made me go back to really appreciate how great action movies were back then. Mm-hmm. You mentioned how just the pace is just crazy. You just get it. It reminded me of like if a movie was a picture book and you just flip the pages real quick. I mean, they just every scene was like a page, and they would just thumb through them very quickly. Oh yeah. There's no long scenes. There's not any drawn out expositions. It's strategic and tactical. But it was a decent plot. I mean, it's practical, and when you think about a real war, a traditional war breaking out, and nukes not being used because it would just, I could kind of buy it. Yeah. You're right. The soundtrack was pretty harsh. I think the soundtrack was actually performed by like probably an army band. You could just tell it was, it was just jarring almost in some places. But you cared about these kids and you wanted them to win, and because there's a little, jingoism that kicks in. There's a little patriotism that kicks in. Even as cynical as we are, we still like to see those things come out. And this movie just knew how to be what it was, right? It just kind of performed, and it was a fun watch. It was just a bit of a time capsule, but just kind of a very, very cool thing. I'm like you. I hate the fact knowing that there's a remake of it, because I hate people. I would hate for people to watch that movie and not know of the original. I would like that. I would hope that they would see the original, at least to compare.
in all its griminess, like you said, these were like real people out in the woods for 5 months. They were really getting dirty.
Spirit of the deer, Mike.
drink it up.
But I mean, it got me thinking about. We've talked about this a few times, and I think we haven't. We don't have enough shame to ignore it again. But I want to talk about the fact that it was remade, and nobody asked it to be. They changed a bunch of stuff around to make it a little more, I guess, palatable for a modern audience. And it just really got me angry. So I think for this week's installment of You Just Made the List, Pal, I think we're going to dust off a topic we talked about before, but I want to go back and redo, Mike, if you will, a remake of our list. I want to go back and look at some of the worst remakes of all time. Not necessarily in terms of quality, but in terms of like, why did we even need this, Mike? So again, we addressed this in a few podcasts before, but I think it's always right for the picking. So, Mike, if you would, let's pick 2 or 3, maybe an honorable mention if you have one. Let's talk about the futility of some of the most recent remakes and why we don't like them. So, Mike, head us off.
Like I said, I have a mild sense of deja vu about this list. So I'm going to try to think of ones that probably didn't talk about before. One of those would be, my first pick would be Rollerball. The 1975 movie with James Caan and John Houseman, for some reason, as a bad guy. It was a pretty good movie. It's extremely violent. We just talked about how Red Dawn is violent. This movie just, took it to another level. And it was a so-so movie. You watch it and you're like, that's an interesting idea, and it really goes off the rails with the side story about, trying to overthrow the government. But in itself, the sport is cool, actual rollerball and people actually dying in the game.
Yeah.
But it's not that great a movie. It came out in, like I said, 75, and you watch it, and it's mediocre. Why? But they remade it, and they did not change much about it at all, except for LL Cool J's in it, so that's cool. But even that movie was just a flop at the box office when it came out. It just, and a lot of it was because nobody really knew what the hell the first movie was. Like it was not that big a splash in the first place. I have no idea why they remade it, and sometimes they remake movies and make modernize it, and for a different audience, but it just failed and flopped disastrously, and it made me laugh at the time. So that's my first pick is Rollerball.
Yeah, nobody liked it then. So.
Yeah. Why again?
You think John Houseman got the role because Donald Pleasance turned it down? All right, so I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go back to the kind of the same premise that you're kind of talking about. I'm gonna talk about the Magnificent Seven. Getting remade in 2016. Again, we had this hallowed ground territory argument before, where there's movies you shouldn't touch. I think this qualifies as one. I mean, why would you attempt to take this iconic Western with Gil Brenner and Steve McQueen and Charles Bronson and James Coburn and try to modernize it? It's probably not a bad movie in its own vacuum. I'm just annoyed that the nerve that they would try to make
the Knave.
Then I'm sure to get a brain,
A heart.
A home.
the knife.
the Knave. To make it 240 minutes long too, that doesn't help. And like I said, it's not a bad film, but I just don't understand. There are certain things that's kind of like hallowed ground, and I don't understand why iconic gritty 70s Western like that's appreciated at that level only. I just don't understand why they would try to do that. So that's my first pick here is Magnificent Seven from 2016.
Nice.
All right, well, Mike, what's on your plate? What
else gets my goat?
Yeah.
This movie was so iconic when Cecil B. DeMille did it. I think in '59. I'm guessing here was Ben-Hur with Charlton Heston. Long epic, movie based on the Christian story about this guy who's he's born a Roman, basically a Roman nobleman, and he converts to Christianity after he meets Jesus, and then he becomes despised by the Romans, and anyway, it all leads to this gigantic scene with involving a chariot race, which is the centerpiece of the movie. It's one of the most incredible sets of Cecil B. DeMille and the remake, that Ben, Charlton Heston in, because the original movie's from the 20s, and then there's then his version. But in I think 2016, they decided to try it again, and at a much less budget, with actors that barely recognizable, but it was also made in more of like how do I say it? A less secular point of view. So there was a little too much emphasis on the religious aspect of it. So when I went to go see this at the theater, I'm not a practicing Christian, but I'm also someone who's a little bit open-minded about this, but it was almost too ham-handed with the messages, and all you wanted to see was the chariot race at the end, and it was filmed so poorly, and you could, like I said, the special effects they tried to use were not good, and after you see that, it's just disappointing, and like I said, I was okay with the messaging a little bit, but it was a little too harsh on that, and then, like I said, when they could not nail the landing with the race, I was done, and that really, ticked me off. It's like, why watch this? Why? I don't care that it's better filmed or better, it's newer. It still can't beat the '59 version. So
that's kind of the ongoing argument for both our cases here, I think. It's weird. It's very meta that you mentioned this movie that had Morgan Freeman basically doing the same role he did in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves last week.
I know, right? The wise sage. All
right, in North African generic accent. That that Black Panther stock accent is just so played out. I mean, come on. Anyway, okay, so let's move on. So my next pick is a movie that I haven't seen, but I know it's bad. I really want to just more comment on the reason why it was made than pose if it's good or not. I'm talking about Charlie's Angels from 2019, Mike. So I saw the original Charlie's Angels from not the
Cameron Diaz.
Yeah, not that it wasn't that long ago that the first one was made.
Yeah.
So it's under 20 years, so I have a problem with that all. So I saw it in the theater and whatever. And the premise of that movie was it was a step above like a satire or a farce. It was almost like Austin Powers. It was just silly. And it was glossy, and it was quick cuts and just a music video of a movie. It was stupid, but it was I guess palatable to some audiences with the cast, girl power, whatever. Okay, so they decided to do this again in 2019. The dust hadn't settled on the previous movie. That's my problem.
Oh, yeah.
And it's kind of like your argument with your picks is like people didn't think that was great art then, and it wasn't that clever then, and then they decided to remake it again 18 years later. It's like, why don't you just remake Spice World? I mean, what's the difference? Those movies are dumb. They're not worthy of being reintroduced to the American public. They had their shot. People had their fill of them, and no one wants any more. But for some reason, Charlie's Angels came out again with a bland, generic, diverse cast that I didn't care about, and no one liked it. And everybody's shocked. They're like, "Oh, I can't believe this movie."
Wow,
the movie's probably good, but they set itself up to fail because they're introducing an element that no one in the movie going public wants to see. And I never understood why people just don't do research. People.
Yeah, I don't either. It's like,
like
how can you turn your blind eye to what happened before? It baffles me.
If you're going to bankroll a movie, millions and millions of dollars, isn't there some sort of element of supply and demand? Like, do people want to see that? Do people not know that? So anyway, I think we warbled long enough, Mike. So
beat it, Justin. Beat that dead horse. Beat it. Come on.
All right, Mike. So I'm going to take a breath. I'm going to let you kind of do your last pick and maybe an honorable mention or two if you have some.
Yeah. I feel like I'm too negative. So I thought about this earlier today. I was like, I need to be positive. There's certain songs I hear like that are remakes. Like "The Night They Drove Old Dixie Down" by Joan Baez, and what's that? It's the kind of song that like. It does nothing to the original. Like the band's version is basically her version. It's just, she's a girl singing it. And, Opposite's true if somebody like Michael Bolton, singing "When a Man Loves a Woman." You sang it just like Percy Sledge did, but your version doesn't have any soul to it. Why'd you do this? It's
Right.
no good. Then there's people like Devo, who take the song "Satisfaction" and totally change it and make it their own for the time it was. And it's the same words, it's the same kind of beat, but it's totally different. But they're two separate songs, basically. And that's the way I feel about some of my honorable mentions. I thought about some of the movies we've done, like we talked about The Mummy, Brendan Fraser's version, how it's so different than the Boris Karloff, dark and just, it's a fun farce adventure ride, Scarface, you take a gangster movie about Al Capone, and then you update it with Al Pacino as a Cuban immigrant. It's just crazy. It's basically the same story beats, but the remake is so good, and that's what I guess I'm getting at. These, for honorable mention, those are two good ones. And Invasion of the Body Snatchers. You take a movie from the 50s that was about the communist invasion, basically, as an allegory, and in the 70s you toss that out and just say, "Hey, man, it's aliens. Let's make this scary." And totally changed the whole theme of the movie, and it works, even though it's basically a remake. So I want to throw those out there as good ones. But I have one bad one just sitting here in front of me. I might have mentioned this before. You might have mentioned this before. No, it's not Father of the Bride. No, it's not Flatliners. It's not Willy Wonka or Longest Yard. It's Clash of the Titans, which this movie was I saw this at the theater in the new version with Sam Waterston in it. Yeah. And it's a middle finger. This movie was such they did, like I said before, it did change the dynamic of the original movie a lot with Harry Hamlin from 81. But they also took away the charm of that movie, the little bits and bobs, the mechanical owl, the play, the sense of humor, the Burgess Meredith, they took away like anything that was fun in the original movie was gone, just erased, and it was just a dour, dark. It's one of those movies we talked about before where they don't know how to light a set. It's like everything is brown, gray, black, and just depressing. I mean, how can you make an adventure movie about this guy going through all these trials and tribulations and releasing the Kraken and rescuing the princess at the end and make it as just dull as that movie was? And that was my number one pick, was the remake of Clash of the Titans.
That's a great one. I remember in the theater, like, rooting for the end. I can't wait for this to be over so I can just get up and not embarrass myself and walk out.
I think we watched it together. Maybe.
I think you're right. So, yeah, that's a good one. And again, being such huge fans of the original, to see that kind of on the screen. Spoiler alert, guys! I think the original Clash of the Titans is in our roster for season 6, by the way. So stay tuned. So that's. We are making a list as we speak of films we want to populate this year. Going to get a little more organized now. That is definitely going to be in there. And if you're listening this far, if there's movies that you guys want to see, there are plenty of slots still available. So we'll get to that here at the end. But we want to get your feedback, and we want to do movies you guys want to hear. So stay tuned to the end for that. All right, so Mike, I'm not going to be as diplomatic as you are. I'm going to stay cranky and stay grumpy all the way. I'm going to ride this horse all the way to the ground. So, I have some honorable mentions here, but I'm just going to lump them in to just one generic category. Every horror film that's ever been remade is a waste of time. I think we talked about this a little bit, so I'm not going to get into too much detail. But there is no such thing as a better remake horror film. The originals are always better. The originals are terrible movies, guys. We like them because they represent something. They're the genre of film we like. They're not art. They're not cinema. They're fun little thrill rides that are to evoke a response and make you feel scared. And they're cozy and they're comfortable. And we grew up with them, and those are great. When you remake The Fog, or Freddy, or Jason, or Carrie, when you keep doing these things, you're missing the point. Horror fans like those movies because they are what they are. They like those movies. They don't like that story. They like those movies. And we still haven't figured it out, Mike. But that's too much oxygen to give it an honorable mention. So
Yeah, I hear you. What about I haven't seen it, but the Evil Dead remake, was that close to the feeling of the Sam Raimi? I know
well,
the first two.
that's probably a tough one to measure again. It's not terrible. You're completely disproving my point. Thank you, Mike.
Oh, no.
No.
To me, it's a polished movie compared to the charm of a movie that this guy made in the mountains of North Carolina with his own car. I think again, I'm trying to back up your point by saying, hey, that the reason the original Evil Dead movies were so good was the fact that they were made on such a low budget and just thought of them, ad-libbed and thought of there on the spot at this house.
I guess sometimes we're biased. Of course, we're biased a little bit generously because these are movies we watch with our friends in front of the TV in our sleeping bags, eating popcorn as kids, staying up late. I mean, so we had this association with them anyway, which probably makes us a little possessive and whatever. But I want to get back to my number one pick here, and I'm going to go to the well again because I feel it's.
I feel it coming.
You know where we're coming here?
I feel it.
I'm going to go with 2001's Planet of the Apes because I didn't get enough out the last time we talked about this. And we have some new listeners, so they may not hear this story. So, Planet of the Apes from 1968 is one of the cinema's greatest achievements of all time. We've covered that on the podcast. We encourage you to go back and listen to it. But it's just a classic work of sci-fi. It's so smart. There's so much relevance in terms of like social commentary, and they touch on themes of racism and sexism and creationism, God, and there's all these things that are attached to this little monkey movie, and it's just a fantastic film. 2001's Planet of the Apes, done by Tim Burton, is liked by no one, including the cast. The people that brought the movie to the screen hate it. It was just a complete mess, and it just angers me even to bring it up again. And I hate doing this to myself, Mike. But it was symbolic of everything that's wrong in what we feel is wrong as the host of a very mediocre podcast with modern cinema. It was commercialized. It was shot very darkly, like not in terms of tone, but you could not see the movie. The acting was horrible. The only thing that salvages it is the tremendous practical makeup by Rick Baker here, of course. But it just angers me to this day that this ever got greenlit. It reeks of producer's notes. Everything about it seems like something the studio wanted it to do.
Yeah. It didn't even have the quirkiness you would expect from a Tim Burton movie, even in it.
No. I think maybe if it left to his own devices, he might have come up with something different. Mm-hmm. But what really bothers me here, of course, is the ending. Planet of the Apes ending is probably one of the top 3 iconic endings of all film history. They couldn't come up with anything. They knew they had to because it was a Planet of the Apes movie. So they decided to do this completely disjointed, completely irrational, unreal, impossible twist that makes no sense whatsoever to have him go back to Ape Lincoln's monument. My bowels are literally turning as I'm talking about it, Mike. So I don't want to go.
Yeah, that was a tough one.
But so guys, just as a special note, this one hurt me so badly. It's one of my. I think it's legendary in terms of the annals of Grumpy Nostalgia. And to that point, next week we're going to have a new movie come out in a couple weeks. But in the interim, we're going to re-release Planet of the Apes from 2001, folks. So stay tuned. If you want to see what got your host all riled up and see what the context of this conversation is, I encourage you to download the next podcast. It is a repeat, but it is worth calling out because, Mike, I'm embarrassed. I really lost myself in that episode, and I totally out of character for me. I don't know what happened, but this movie just did it.
Well, based on what we talked about earlier, now it's probably high time to remake the original Planet of the Apes again.
Why not? Put Tom Cruise in it. No, put Timothy Chalamet in it.
There you go. He's dreamy.
And Pedro Pascal and the guy that was in The Running Man. Just recast all those people.
Glenn Powell's the chin.
Just keep doing it until something hits. All right, so speaking of hit, we hit the bottom, Mike. I think it's time we wrap it up here. So let's just do a little housekeeping here. So if you like what you heard today for some reason, don't forget to check us out on our Instagram page. That's at Grumpy Nostalgia. We have a YouTube channel called Grumpy Nostalgia. Check it out. Maybe you'll be the one. Who knows? Or don't. We don't care anymore. I stopped trying to push the YouTube channel, Mike. I just given up. So.
All right.
You just want the novelty of seeing a dead channel? Just check us out. Check it out on YouTube. We can like and comment.
Does that mean I can show up in my underwear again?
That's exactly it.
All right.
We also have a webpage called grumpynostalgia.buzzsprout.com. That's probably the best resource if you like any of our show. It's got a full archive of all of our shows. It's got a contributor section with information on me and Mike, some of our favorite podcasts and all that good stuff, and all the things we listen to. So you can check out all of our shows at that page as well. So,
all right.
And don't forget to check out Planet of the Apes coming up here in about 10 days.
The only movie we've done the remake and the original for, I believe.
That's right. There you go. All right, so Mike, that's going to wrap it up for this show. Anything else you want to say to the gang before we head out of here today?
No, me and Justin are all used up. Das Vidania.
All that hate's going to burn you up. All right, so for Mike James, this is Justin, and we'll see you again next time. I literally, it was a jolt when those closing credits came out. Like, I literally jumped out of the chair, like, oh, holy shit.
Holy mackerel. There's John.
What are you doing to me?
Dead.
Who was
that guy?
All right.